The other thing that frustrates me is people who have experienced poverty. See, as someone who knows severe poverty, I lived in a refugee camp, on the floor, no water, nothing. And I hear somebody say here in the United States, they're fine with their grandparents not having running water? And that's supposed to be okay? So as an immigrant, as someone who came to this country, hearing about American exceptionalism and prosperity, I am appalled that we get to sit here and have conversations as Americans about being the most charitable country in the world.
Did you catch that? Because what you just heard is the raw, ugly reality of Washington, D.C. That was Representative Ilhan Omar absolutely enraged. And who's she mad at? She's furious at a pastor, Pastor Latasha Fields, a black woman who actually lived the struggle Omar only lectures about. This is a crystal clear collision between two Americas. One America believes in faith, family, grit, and personal responsibility. The other believes the government is your savior and you're permanently helpless. And this clip? It's outrageous. Ilhan Omar is openly mocking a woman who dragged herself out of poverty through sheer determination, just for having the nerve to say others can do the same. That's not compassion. That's contempt. We're watching the entire exchange, because this matters. And if this makes your blood boil like it does mine, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video. People need to see what these hearings really look like when the masks come off. Let's roll the tape.
My name is Latasha Fields. I am the founder of Christian Home Educator Support System in Chicago, Illinois. I want to thank Chairman Yamath for having me, the Ranking Member Womack, and members of Congress. It's a blessing to be here today. I have been married to Ronald Fields II for 13 and a half years. We are home educators of 4 wonderful children. I have 2 girls, 22 and 3, and 2 boys, 12 and 9. My husband and I are both born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I spent 33 years there before I came to move to Chicago, Illinois, 7.5 years ago to expand our evangelistic work. We serve as the overseers and pastors of our Report Ministries and Publication in Chicago. I am also the founder of Christian Home Educator, which is a homeschool academy, and Christian Home Support System, which is our support group. These are evangelistic outreach ministries to serve and support the families of the city of Chicago and surrounding communities. We provide assistance, resources about home education, cooperative educational and recreational resources, curriculum and parental rights issues, and much more. Our mission is to empower parents to take back the responsibility of educating their children. I am also the state coordinator of parentalrights.org, a volunteer of Junior Achievement of Chicago, and a member of Cure Clergy Network. I also have over 19 years of entrepreneur experience, with 14 of those years being consecrated in the real estate industry and several certifications in property management and nonprofit housing. I am also a recent graduate of Trinity Christian College in Palo Heights, Illinois, with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a 4.0 GPA. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey, which is nothing short of the grace of God towards me. My grandmother, who raised me, also raised 9 kids of her own, was a homeowner living in a poor black drug-infested community in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She raised me and my younger sister. My mom was a teenage mom on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother was a strong woman, hardworking woman. She showed tough love and had amazing independent work ethics. So I basically grew up in the typical black stigma community surrounding me: the lack of motivation for education, promiscuous behavior, drugs, crime, and some on welfare. In spite of the circumstances that surrounded my childhood, I was one that often fought against the odds. I had a love for education. I never did drugs and I never committed a crime. But however, I did fall into promiscuous behavior, and at the age of 17, I became a teenage mom. This was the turning point of my life. I will never forget the day that I found that I was pregnant. I went into a Planned Parenthood in my neighborhood. I was devastated, I was frightened, and I was scared, because I was one of those kids that excelled in school, was popular in school, played sports, was on the homecoming court. You name it, I was in it. So basically, I kept myself from the normalized behaviors that plagued the black community. So becoming pregnant was embarrassing to me. I didn't want to be like the rest. I had always strived to be better. I didn't want to be like the social norm. I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be the 72% of moms raising a child single. So while waiting for the results of my pregnancy test, I was crying and I was thinking how I had ruined my life. The nurse came back in the room and she told me that I was 3 weeks pregnant, and she consoled me that I had another choice. I had a choice to abort my baby. In that very moment, my life flashed before my eyes because I had a big decision to make. Do I get rid of my baby and proceed as normal, as though nothing happened, and go back to my family and friends and continue to live out my life? Or do I live the rest of my life knowing I had killed my baby? Do I keep my baby and face the challenges that lie ahead of me and press past the shame, the regret, and the disappointment? I chose the latter. I chose to do what I will always hear my grandmother say: you make your bed hard, you lie in it. Those words rang loud and clear in my heart and mind. Yes, we did this. No one else is responsible for the choice we made. I must take responsibility for my actions and live with it. Live the best possible life I can. Give my child the best possible life I can. Finish high school, go to college, and make something of myself. I decided, in spite of my teenage pregnancy, that I will continue to press past the popularized social norms of the Black community. I worked hard. I graduated from high school 5 months pregnant. During my teenage years, I worked at Burger King. I was a part of an entrepreneurial program that we had. I worked there throughout my high school years, from 15 till I graduated. But I was a mom, so I had to continue working at Burger King to provide for myself and my baby. I lived with my grandmother for several months after I had her, and she encouraged me to get on food stamps, to receive WIC, and to receive child care assistance. During this time, she also helped me to get my first apartment. After about 9 months of renting, the real estate company asked me, did I want to buy a house? I was shocked. I was excited. I went through the first-time home buyers program, and I purchased a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house at 18 years old. After 2 years of being on food stamps, I found myself increasingly growing to hate the program. I felt awful while I was on the program. It was such a level of disrespect and deprivation. I couldn't take it any longer. I removed myself from the food stamp program. But however, due to me working and going to college, I had to remain on child care assistance. After having my baby in 1996, buying my home in 1997, the same real estate company offered me a job. I became a secretary, later a rental assistant manager, and later in December 2005, I became a licensed real estate agent. However, from 1996 to early 2005, I was a single mom, working hard, working 2 jobs sometimes, going to college and maintaining honors. By November 2004, I gave my life to Christ, met my husband, we got married October 2005. After becoming a Christian, I became an ordained minister. My faith began to challenge and propel me to work for families and kids and tackle the problems that plague the Black communities. I lived it, and I wanted to reverse the plague. I had begun and purposed in my heart that I would become that change and advocate for my family and friends. In 2006, I felt compelled by God to take more responsibility for my daughter's education. I took her out of the public education in the 4th grade, and I wanted to give her a Christian education by homeschooling her. So we did. My husband and I did not know what that would entail, but we obeyed God. Later, in 2007, we opened up a Christian homeschool academy as an extension of our evangelistic work. My husband and I are now homeowners in Chicago, Illinois for the last 3 years. My husband is the owner of his own barbershop in the South Shore community in Chicago for the last 5 years, and we are continuing our ministerial work with our Christian school and our co-op group to support the families in the city of Chicago.
Mr. Fields, if you could wrap it up, your time is considerably over, so you can wrap it up. You can make a concluding statement.
Oh, wrap it up, okay. And one more point, that we graduated our oldest daughter, she's 22, from being homeschooled all the way to 12th grade. We graduated her from our homeschool academy, and now she just walked across the stage from the University of Bridgeport with a degree in nutritional science with a 3.1 GPA from being homeschooled. Thank you.
Are there examples of successful anti-poverty programs that you have been a part of that address these problems for youth?
Thank you, Member Flores. Yeah, and that's, I'm hearing everybody testify as well over the same thing, and I'm finding it hard to understand why, when the word is said hard work, why is that interpreted in a different way? I realize all of us sitting here, everyone in this room has worked hard to some extent. But what we're saying is, and I believe you all would agree, that even where you all sit as representative, Congress, and senators, you did not do it by not working hard. And so we just need to understand what that word means. We're saying that you have to persevere, you have to endeavor. And for me, I grew up in the same environments that everyone sitting here is testifying about. Again, my mother was on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother did not have federal aid. My grandmother bought a house in 1972 working as a janitor at Louisiana State University. So before the civil rights, there was no federal aid. There was no welfare and food stamp. So I'm sorry if I come from an environment where I have seen that you do not have to rely on government. You can work hard and persevere no matter how long it takes, and that's what I did. I got the food stamps for a couple of years, so I'm not here to say totally dissolve it. People do need help, but what I'm here to say, and especially working in the real estate industry, it doesn't have to be perpetual. You know, you got families that pass Section 8 and welfare down like it's an inheritance. The Bible says we ought to lay up an inheritance for our children, and it's not government entitlement.
I'm a little frustrated because I heard a lot about love. And one thing that I know is it's not because of the lack of love that we're not able to feed our children. It's not because of the lack of love that we are able to house people. It's not the lack of love that we are unable to save people from dying because they don't have health care. It's not because of lack of love that you were able to finish college because you got help with childcare. Love has nothing to do with this. And if you want to bring love into this, you got to bring radical love. Because radical love means that we radically love every single person within our communities to make sure that we are providing for them the basic rights as humans. That's what love is. And that's the godly thing to do. So if we want to talk about faith, we also have to remember that we can't pray our problems away.
Exactly.
You can't pray for your children to be fed, so you're not crying because they're crying and they can't go to bed. You cannot pray for your medical bills to disappear. You cannot pray for the mold to stop poisoning your children in the classrooms. The other thing that frustrates me is people who have experienced poverty, who have gotten the straps for their bootstraps, who sit and talk about how we shouldn't do anything for the next person. See, as someone who knows severe poverty, I lived in a refugee camp, on the floor, no water, nothing. And I hear somebody say, here in the United States, they're fine with their grandparents not having running water? And that's supposed to be okay? Or we hear someone say, it was a choice made up to me to have my children and not be like the other black people who get to have children out of wedlock. We don't get to have those kind of conversations. The conversations we get to have is how we are responsible for fully funding our schools so all of our children have the opportunities we have as we sit in this room. We get to talk about the kind of opportunities we have as government to make sure healthcare is provided to everybody so that we don't have people dying in the United States because they can't afford insulin. The conversation we get to have is making sure that there are no children going to sleep hungry or being shamed in classrooms and in lunchrooms because their families don't have enough money to pay for their lunch. The conversation we get to have about the kind of poverty we have in this country is the kind of poverty that says it is okay for us to take photo pictures with veterans and be okay with the fact that they're sleeping on the streets here in the United States. So as an immigrant, as someone who came to this country, hearing about American exceptionalism and prosperity, I am appalled that we get to sit here and have conversations as Americans about being the most charitable country in the world and not being charitable enough to house our homeless, feed our children, care for our veterans. What is charitable about that? So I ask you, the kind of systematic barriers that exist in prosperity, that's the conversation we should be having. And so I want you guys to, for the little bit of time that I have, to talk about the systematic barriers that exist in creating prosperity and what it means for us to remove those so that all of us could have the prosperity that is guaranteed within our Constitution.
Let's be crystal clear about what just happened. On one side, you have Pastor Latasha Fields, a real human being with a real life, not a slogan, not a talking point. She was raised in a poor, black, drug-riddled neighborhood. Her mother was addicted, cycling in and out of prison. She got pregnant at 17. By every box Ilhan Omar loves to check, Pastor Fields was supposed to fail. She was supposed to become another statistic. But she didn't. And that's exactly what drives Ilhan Omar crazy. Why didn't she fail? Because she had something Omar's ideology despises: values. She had a grandmother who, despite being poor, owned her home and taught her a simple truth: you make your choices, you live with them. That's called personal responsibility. Then she comes before Congress, not whining, not begging, but offering solutions. Real ones. Trades. Work. Skills. She explains her husband has a 10th grade education, owns his own barbershop, and provides for his family. That's not theory. That's reality. That's the American dream in living color. And how does Ilhan Omar respond? With pure contempt. She's visibly irritated. Because this testimony demolishes everything she believes. She tries to corner her by saying, well, actually, you finished college because you had government childcare. Gotcha, right? Wrong. Pastor Fields never said assistance should never exist. She said it shouldn't be permanent. She used help temporarily, then moved on. Omar's worldview requires people to stay stuck, endlessly dependent, endlessly managed, endlessly controlled. That's the difference. Pastor Fields believes in individuals, families, faith, and work. Ilhan Omar believes in victims, systems, and government control. Omar hates stories like this because they expose the lie. They prove you are not trapped by your environment. They prove effort matters. Values matter. Faith matters. And success in America is still possible. That's the truth. And Ilhan Omar absolutely cannot stand it.